Live. So we are live now, and today I'm really privileged and honoured to be able to introduce Bobby Semple to our chat today on mindset. Bobby, we were just chatting offline about your radio show and a little bit about where you've been in your journey. Bobby Semple from Simplified Recruitment Solutions. We're not really going to talk that much about recruitment solutions today. As you know, our focus is on mindset and mind shift, which we both are very passionate about. So, Bobby, welcome. Lovely to have you here.
Thank you for having me on the show, Karen, and I'm looking forward to the next few weeks where we talk about shifting your mindset and how important it is to be able to do that, because all the good things happen. You know, life is difficult for a lot of people, and you mentioned recruitment there. There's no better place to have a positive mindset. Where you're looking for staff or you're looking for a job, you need to have that, because it's a difficult gig out there. And you know, having a positive mindset can bring so many good things to your life. Like you mentioned, the radio show there, I've got a whole story behind that of how I led to become a radio host, from being scared of holding a microphone to now talking to nearly 250,000 people on a radio show on a Saturday night. And hearing my own voice made me cringe back in the day. But now, with the right mindset, I can take on anything. And so many doors open when you have a good mindset like that.
Yes, and we'll talk a bit more about that this morning, Bobby, or this afternoon it is now, actually. So I just want to start by saying to our audiences, whether you're live or whether you watch the replay, can you imagine being able to escape from stress or chaos and anxiety anytime, anywhere, and be in a personal haven of calm, always at your fingertips? Well, this is not just a dream. It's a possibility that's within all of our reach, because most people think up things and then the fear comes up, and most of us think that the fear is a sign that we should stop. You were talking about that, Bobby. You had a fear of talking, your voice, talking to other people, and of course on a radio show. And most of us, when that fear comes up, we think it's a sign that we should stop taking those steps to serve our dream. And we listen to the fear's reasoning, because it's the fear that's reasoning at that point, or our story and our belief that we can't have that life that we would love to be living because of this fear that's coming up and what goes with it, the story that goes with it. But what many people don't realize is that the source of our strength can't be removed by any fear. And when we feel fear, we're actually on the green growing edge of moving forward in our life. And it's part of our humanness that pulls us back when we are on that edge of moving forward. And when we shift our attention away from our fear and onto that dream, that vision of where we want to go, that destination, vibration we create is one of growth and expansion and possibility. And you know this, Bobby. I'm going to get you to share a bit more about your journey. So it's really important, and that's why we decided to do this session today on mind shift and mindset. So it's really important that we shift our attention away from our fear onto where we want to end up, and manage our thoughts that allow us to redirect the energy that we would have otherwise given to that fear. And instead, it allows us to be available for those dreams and that vision and that destination of where we want to end up. So on that note, that little introduction about fear and mind shift, Bobby, what have you got to tell us today about your story? Hey, Peter, we've got Peter here. Ria, is it? Or Ray?
Yep.
What is it that you've got to share about your story overcoming fear and your change in mindset or your mind shift over the
I've learned so much over the last few years, and especially meeting people like you, Karen, and other amazing people via networking. That's why I love networking so much, because you can meet great people, you can take advice and learn skills from people. And I never knew about mindset. I just thought it was just a buzzword that people used until I started to meet great people who really take control of their mindset. And, it's not easy. Nothing is easy to do. But I think the key part about being positive is living in the moment, this 1 second here. When we start to think about other things, it can start to make us not in a positive mindset. And so my journey started, I was a corporate person. I loved doing the best I could for businesses, and I thought that was the only way to do business. And it wasn't until I built a business from $70,000 turnover year 1 to 4.5 million year 2 that I realized that there was a different world out there. I ended up losing that business through a long story, and just in the middle of the pandemic, well, just as the pandemic started. And I was down and out, and I literally had no idea what I was going to do. Spent all this time building this business, and now I didn't have anything. What I did have, though, was a network of people. So I joined a networking event. I had the idea for Simplified Recruitment Solutions. And when I started to meet people, and they start to teach me ways, especially people like you, Karen, of how the world really works and how your mind really works. We can take control of our thoughts and our emotions. And again, it's like anything, it's a learning process. It takes time. Some people take a lifetime to master it. It's an ongoing kind of thing. It's not, you can just click your fingers. I was living in a garage. I literally had nothing. And it wasn't until I started to think about the world in a positive way and about what good things could happen, and started to see the positive in every situation. I would get a really bad situation would happen to me, but I would try and find the positive within that. What did I learn from that? How could I use that going forward? And I started to realize that the world is full of doors and avenues you can go down at any point. And every time it's a bit like a computer game. That's the way I kind of see it. Like, I was at level 1, and for me to get to level 2, I had to go and do certain things. I had to open doors. I had to go and speak to people. I had to go and do one-to-ones. I had to go to networking events. I had to go and speak at a networking event in front of 25 people. All things outside my comfort zone, all things that I feared. And if I fast forward just as a quick glance to now, I run 3 businesses. I've got a now radio show on a real radio program that goes to 250,000 people around Moreton Bay. Like, only because I said yes to things and had a positive outcome outset of, okay, well, if I knock this door and I go through this door, that's going to get me to level 2. If I learn how to speak on a microphone, which I feared, I used to be a DJ, right? And I never spoke on the mic because when we were talking about this just before the show started, that I was scared to hold that microphone, to even speak on that microphone. And then on Saturday, I had a radio show where not only was I speaking on a microphone, but I was speaking to possible 250,000 people. And it was only because I met people and they said to me, hey, I really like your accent or your voice. But really, I hated it. I really didn't like it. But because other people gave me the confidence then, and I had the positive mindset of go, well, what could happen if I get this radio show? Where would that take me? So we talk about levels. I'm at level 1, level 2. Over the last 3 years, I've worked up to all my way to level 100 maybe. But by opening that door to the radio show, way outside my comfort zone, doing something that is so in front.
Oops, we lost. Uh-oh. This happens sometimes. We just have to stay calm. There's 2 things that have gone wrong this morning. One is that I accidentally I had to message someone who thought that.
Here. Hello.
I was just saying, Bobby, that's the second thing that's gone wrong this morning. I don't know if you saw me looking down a couple of times. I just got a message from someone who said, I'm ready when you are. And I accidentally said, well, I will see you at 12:30 instead of 1:30. And our appointment was actually 1:30 in my calendar. And then we lost you. So
I don't know what happened. I just went into the back. I went into the backstage area for some reason. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, fantastic what you're sharing. Keep sharing, Bobby.
Yeah, so I had this opportunity because once you start saying yes to things and have a positive outset and confidence, I never knew how to do a radio show, but someone said, "Hey, would you be interested?" Yes, let's go and have a look. Because in my head, I'm like, well, what doors could that open? Like by meeting you, Karen, what doors could open? What levels is that going to take me to? And so we can really be restrained by our mindset. And then all of a sudden, opportunities that we want to have won't come our way because we're not taking the steps to go and open those doors. And so, today we're on a show. We're going to be doing this all the way up to Christmas. Who knows who's going to see this? Where's this going to take us? And so by saying yes and coming onto it, don't get me wrong, I'm nervous, obviously, because it's going live and, you've got to talk and you think, are people going to understand what I'm saying? Well, the right people will. It doesn't, you don't have to be, everyone doesn't have to be your fan. And once you learn that and just start to be yourself, you'll attract the right crowd around you. And that right crowd will support everything that you do. And you mentioned Peter, who's watching this now. He supports everything that I do. He gives me words of wisdom, confidence. No doubt there's other people in the world who are probably saying, look at that Bobby, what a pain in the arse he is, whatever it might be. Well, I'm not going to surround myself by those people. I'm going to hang out with you, Karen, because you support me. I'm going to hang out with Peter because he supports me. All these things.
Yeah, Bobby, that's fantastic. And I want to just speak to a couple of the points you've made. And great that you're on here, Peter. Thank you for supporting Bobby and I and me in this session. So I want to really think about how what you've said about taking advantage of opportunities, because, and like you said, opportunities actually are here for us all the time. They show up for us every single day, every single minute of every day, actually. But we don't often see them because we're focusing on something else. And so, I'm a great believer in, the universal laws and quantum physics. And I really believe that, first of all, if we put it out there, I would like to do this, I would like to find someone, I would like to be here, be there, do that, then opportunities show up because we're putting it out there. If we're not really clear in what we're putting out, so if we decide we might want to do something, a lot of us operate in this kind of sort of maybe mindset. And, I'd like to do something, if I think I can, or if the economy proves to be okay for me, or, if. And we live in this realm of unsureness. That's not the right word, is it?
It makes sense, though. Okay.
And because of that, we're putting that message out there, and we'll never get it back the way we want it when we're putting mixed messages out there. It's just like being in a relationship. If you're in a relationship with a special person and you put on mixed messages, you put out mixed messages, you won't get back actually what you want, because the person on the receiving end doesn't understand what's going on. And it's the same with us and our thinking. And this is actually proven in neuroscience now, in that all of our thoughts are like a sea of thoughts out there in the universe, and we're interacting with each other all the time. And so when you're clear about what you want and you make a decision, well, I'm going to do this, I'm doing this, and what will happen is that the people, the situations, the circumstances, as you say, will show up. And not only will they show up, but you will see them. We will see them because we've changed our mindset to be looking for that. So it's super important to, as you say, make a decision about where you're going, what you want to do, and then be open to seeing the ways that we can do it, because we don't have to know the how in the beginning.
That's right.
When you decided that you were going to change, or when you were going to do a radio show, or when you were going to start a new business, you probably didn't know all of the how you were going to do it.
I still don't. People say to me, how do you do all these things? And I go, I don't know. I'll just do it. I'll go and try it. What's the worst thing that can happen? It doesn't work out. Okay, well, at least I gave it a go, but I'm never going to know how to fix that and make it happen unless I go and put it out there. I started a networking business. I didn't know how to do it. I started a magazine. Didn't know how to do it. Started a chat show. Didn't know how to do it. I know more now, but the next week I'm still going to learn more. And there was a key thing that you missed out of the things you just said there, is the action part. Right? We can think about and wish whatever we want in the world, but if we don't take action to go to that journey and down that destination, then you're never going to get that. And so that's the difficult part. I find the The head part is pretty simple. Think about the positive things, think about the goal, think about the journey. The action part, you've got to go and do it. You've got to go and walk the walk. I've got to go out there and say that I am a successful recruitment company. And at the beginning, I wasn't. But what it allowed me to do was have the mindset, I am successful. I am successful. I am going to go and change the world. I am going to do this. And once you start being kind to yourself, and that's got to be the first start point, isn't it? You've got to be kind to yourself. Like so many times I look in the mirror and go, oh my God, I hate the way that I look, or hate the way that I sound, or whatever it is. And it was quite funny. A friend of mine, who's actually part of my family, long story, and we were doing some work together, and I sent her my headshot, and she went, this is very flattering. And I was like, oh my God, people think that I'm probably attractive. I didn't realize that. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm going to take that. And so sometimes you've got to, this is why it's important to surround yourself with the people who support you, because they're never going to go to you, oh, you're so ugly. They're going to go, you're great. And you've got to go and do that. You might be having a bad day. You've got to be positive. And one of the things that I do that helps me in my world is I do things for people. I make introductions, I support their posts, whatever it might be. And how I work it out in my head is, if I do good things for people, good things will happen to me. And now people think that when you do that you're going to get the Ferrari or whatever. No, you're looking at it the wrong way, right? Every good thing that I do, something good will happen to me. And that good thing might be there's no traffic on the motorway. It might mean that the petrol prices come down a little bit. It might mean there's no queue for the coffee. If we're not looking for positive things in our life, and we miss that there was no queue for the petrol station, or there was no traffic, and we miss that, and we're still thinking about all the things that I want, then we miss out on all the beauty of life. And all these things happen to us, and we think, oh yeah, but that's great having, not to queue for the coffee machine. I want the Ferrari. Yeah, but you've still got to live your life and enjoy life. This good thing has happened. You might have ordered something off Amazon. It comes a day early. No, there's joy in that. We've got to find joy in these little things. And if you don't, life can be very hard if you're not paying attention and living in the moment and going, oh, that's beautiful. I've got a phone call from somebody who I haven't spoke to for a while, or whatever it might be. We have to take gratitude into that moment for us to be able to vibrate at the right level, because that's where all the good stuff happens, isn't it?
Absolutely agree with you 100%, Bobby. And you're so right about the action. So taking action is the grounding energy. So like you say, your frequency is up here when you're giving gratitude, and you're giving. Actually, the law of reciprocity says we have to give to receive. And so we don't give in order to receive. Okay. But if we give, like you say, and there's a law of value as well that says value is neither created nor destroyed. And so if we give a particular value of something, like you say, we let's say people who don't charge their worth. And so they give of value, but they don't charge what their value is. It will still come back to them in another way, because the value is still there. So like you say, when we give something, we will get something back, and it might not be exactly swapping, but we will receive back. So the law is like, you can't get heat out of a stove unless you give it wood.
That's right.
You can't get produce out of a seed unless you give it water and food and nurture it. Well, the same thing applies with our thoughts. Our thoughts, if you imagine them as a thought seed, and we nurture those thought seeds with other good thought seeds, being in gratitude, imagining what it is like to have received or achieved or done something that we want to do. And that way we will be growing those positive thought seeds, like you said, Bobby, instead of nurturing the opposite, which is unfortunately the way that our minds are made, and our society trains us, teaches us, and programs us to be the opposite. So focusing on the negative thoughts, focusing on the fear and things like that. So you're so right. The action and the giving and the operating at that frequency is what helps us to operate from a mindset and have that mind shift to then be able to receive opportunities and circumstances and people who are going to help us to be where we want to be, give what we want to give, and create what we want to create in our lives. That's part of our vision or our dream life.
Yeah. You mentioned a seed there, and there's an interesting way that I look at shifting your mindset and how your mind works. I would love to say this was my own, but it wasn't. It was from a TikTok that I saw. I'm a big fan of TikTok. And this guy was talking about how your brain and your mind is like a farmer's field. And you can have weeds in a farmer's field, you have corn, you can have wheat, whatever you want. The field does not care what you put into that field.
That's right.
It is going to grow it. And so if we look at our brains the same way, our minds, whatever we put into there or whatever we think is going to grow. So if we start to be really negative about ourselves or about the world, your brain is just going to go, cool, no worries, that's what we're going to do. It's going to start making sure that you start thinking about that in a negative way. And so, we can control that. We're not our thoughts. We are not our thoughts. We can thought a million things, right? A billion of them. And so it's important that we can take control of that. And it takes time, like we've said before. If you think about, so I'm 43 now. Let's think about all the negative things that happened to me when I was a kid, and they happened all the time. So I might have 43. I'll tell you, here's one a great example. Right, where I'm from in the UK, it's from the Midlands. We're in the middle of the UK. There's no beaches. It's like a 2-hour drive to a beach, which is a long time to travel in the UK. So I was scared of the sea. My mum was scared of the sea. So she was like, always, no, I'm not going to go in the sea. So I'm scared. So I had basically 30 odd years of negativity about the sea, just from my mum. and she, she was a great mum. She was a great parent. She, nothing bad about it. But it wasn't until I came to Australia and started to go into the sea that I realized that I had grown these things in my brain, which was about the sea being bad, because my mum had told me it was bad. And it wasn't. There's nothing bad about it. Yes, obviously it's dangerous. You've got to be safe. And, you got some crazy animals in there and you might, meet some of them one day. But 9 times out of 10, if you go out there, be sensible, it's a safe place to go. And so I had to learn. Even now, when I went for a nice walk down the beach this morning, and I was thinking, it's getting warm, so we can go in the sea. And again, that fear still came back into my head. But I have to remember that I'm not that thought. I'm not that. And the sea isn't that. And so I have to educate myself and train my brain to get out of that thought of my mum said that this was bad. And, it's not. And so she was just trying to protect me, like your brain is just trying to protect you, but you don't have to follow that. You can take your time to retrain your mind of that thought. And that's what we do. We have fears about coming online, we're coming onto here, but the positive side of it is we don't know what doors are going to open. And so, yes, I'm fearful, of course, because I'm doing a live, and that's pressure, and we all can be either love it or hate it. But the positive side, I concentrate on the positive. This door could open to 1,000 different doors that is going to change my life for the better. So I do it. I fight that fear. I fight that, stop that growing in my head and plant a positive seed. It's going to take time for that to keep growing, and we've got to water it like you do with any time you do plant something. So what's your thoughts on that view? Is that a good way of looking at it?
Yes, absolutely. I just want to say hello to Wasim. My gosh, Wasim, I haven't seen you for ages, and he's come on and said helpful discussion. So yes, I agree, Bobby. Managing our thoughts once again is critical, and what we say is it's important to feed our faith and the good things about our lives and what we want to achieve, and starve our fear. So keeping our attention focused on that destination or that vision. And the key to that is consciously to pay attention to what we're paying attention to what we're thinking about. So we use in my coaching fraternity, we call it notice what you're noticing. Because we're always noticing, we're always making decisions, having thoughts about other people, about ourselves and our life. And if we notice that our attention is turned towards, say, fear, for example, or doubt or worry, then once we've noticed it, we can consciously return our attention to the truth, which is that we're capable of whatever we can dream up. That, like you say, other people actually may like us, or may like our voice, that we are, we're beautiful beings, you know, that we're part of an infinite intelligence that's far greater than any circumstance or situation outside of ourselves. And we're part of that infinite intelligence is what we call life. So it's everywhere present and it knows all things. And as long as we keep our attention on this truth and on other truths, not facts and not beliefs, but truths, because there's a big difference between a fact and a truth, then the truth will set us free. And I'll give you an example of that. So as long as our attention is on this truth, that the truth sets us free, rather than fearful or life-diminishing thoughts, we practice investigating more and more of our energy, investing more and more of our energy into life-giving thinking. So to talk about the difference between truth and facts, and one is so much more powerful than the other. For example, it's a fact that I have, you have, Wasim has a set number of dollars in our bank account. Okay, that's a fact. But the truth is that there's that abundance flows everywhere, that we have access to abundant wealth. That's the truth. And see how very different they are and what a different mindset goes with each one. And so a lot of people haven't come across this idea of fact versus truth, and definitely truth versus belief. Because beliefs, of course, like you said, you had a belief that the sea was dangerous and bad. And beliefs, we're full of beliefs, because beliefs are given to us by the people when we grow up, by our loved ones, our families, and other people who care about us. And they think that they're doing us a favor. But in fact, our beliefs don't usually serve our vision. They don't usually serve us to move forward in our life and really achieve what we're capable of achieving.
It's so interesting how generations can be affected by the previous generation, because like my parents are 70, 80 odd years old, and they lived in a very different world to what I'm in now. And so what they would teach us as, hey, you've got to be careful, this is the fear, was their fears from that generation, which is like from the 50s and 60s, 70s. The world is so different now, and we can bring in these fears. And at the end of the day, we're just trying to raise our kids the best way that we can. And so, there's no right or wrong way, because you've just got to, do the way that you know. But we have to be careful if we're saying to somebody, hey, a red light is a good thing. All of a sudden, when if they keep saying that, they're going to be like driving and going to drive through a red light because they think it's a good thing. But we think about what we're trying to do. If we go back thousands of years ago, we're trying to say, hey, don't go and chase that lion, it's going to kill you. But there's no lions anymore. There's no lions that are going to come and kill us. And we still have that fear in our head from thousands of years ago. And so I have a question for you. This is about mind shift. So what was the one tip that you can give the viewers and me? What's the one tip right now? What if I need to shift my mindset? What's the best thing for me to do right now?
Great question, Bobby. So my answer to that would be redirect your attention, because our attention magnifies what we focus on. And we've got the power to choose where we place our attention. I really want to get across to people all the time when we're talking about this is that we have a choice. We have a choice of what our thoughts are, and we have a choice of where we place our attention. It's just that we're not always aware of them, okay? So we're either feeding our fear by focusing on apparent obstacles, or we're feeding our faith by focusing on our dream life, our vision, where we want to be. And thoughts of fear can shift our vibration, what we operate at, and so we block the ability to see greater possibilities. So by consciously choosing to answer your question again, by consciously choosing to direct our attention towards our vision, our dream, where we want to be, then we feed our faith and starve our fear. And so the other thing I do, which is like a 101 for my clients right at the beginning, is to get that clarity on where we want to go, to have a written vision that covers all of the areas of our life, not just our business, our health and relationships, our health and well-being, our relationships and loved ones, our business, career, or our vocation, and our time and money freedom. Those are the 4 main areas or domains of our life that we create results in. Because that's the other thing I say to people is life doesn't happen to us. It happens through us, through our thoughts. And so if you have a really clear destination, a written blueprint, just like when the chair designer designed the chair, and some of you have heard me give this example, because everything is created twice. Everything is a thought first before it becomes real, a thought in the land of ideas and possibility, which is the quantum realm. And until it becomes real in this physical world, it's a thought. So the chair designer had a clear picture of what this chair would look like, your chair, whatever. Everything that's in this physical world was created by a clear blueprint. We can do that with our results in life as well. Having that clarity and having it all written out as if it's already happened, giving gratitude and writing it as being so happy and grateful that is the power, gives us the power to focus on where we want to go in specific detail. It's got to be in specific detail so that we use our imagination to dream up and get real clarity on what it is we want in our future, in our life. Because otherwise we just stagnate and we start to live in the life of mediocrity, as I call it. And we start to believe that belief that tells us, oh, well, if you've got a good life or if you've got, enough, then you should be happy. Okay? But that's not true, because part of us always wants more, always wants to be moving towards being a better person, having, reaching our capacity and really living that life that we would love.
I love that point. Life is about where we are right now, but we have to know where we want to go. And when you were talking about that, I had a picture in my head. I get visions about a lot of things. A lot of my businesses come from these visions. And at the end of the day, they would only stay a vision if I didn't take action to go and make them a real thing. Like you're saying, the design's in the head, but you've got to go and make that now. And when you were talking about that, I don't know whether you know Waze. Waze is like a GPS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that came in my head. And it's a perfect example. In life, like say I want to go to Brisbane now, I'm going to put that destination in Waze, so it's going to know where I want to go, so I can then take the steps to get to that point. And that's great for now, but why don't we do it more in life? Why don't we do that more in life? Why don't we think about where we want to go? And you look at all the successful people, they'll talk about that. They'll talk about, I think I was watching a TikTok about Oprah Winfrey, and the first thing she said, you've got to know where you want to go. Because if you don't know where you want to go, you can't create a pathway to that location. And it's the same with recruitment as well. Looping it back to recruitment for 1 second. People come to me and go, I want a job. Okay, what do you want to do? I don't know. Well, it makes it very hard for me to go here to look for that. And so once you know, and that doesn't have to be the end destination. It could be the destination of this week, today, tomorrow. Yes, we want to have that goal of, okay, well, in 10 years' time, I want to be successful. I want to, whatever these businesses are going to do, whatever that goal is. But I still have a goal today. I still have a destination of today in the next half an hour of where I want to go. And if we don't have that in our vision, then you're just kind of like using the Waze app, not putting the destination in and driving around, hoping you're going to go down the right road. Yes.
Yeah, aimlessly. That's what we say, is without the vision. And I just want to create that distinction between the vision and the goals, because it's great to have goals and they help us to achieve. However, the vision is like the big picture. It encompasses, like I said, all 4 areas of our life that we create results in. And so I love that you've given that example of Waze. That's exactly right. All successful people, and also the top people in transformation and mindset, all agree, going right back to, Henry Ford and Einstein and all of those people. They all agreed that the vision is like the key. You've got to have the vision just to know where you're going and not to be driving around aimlessly.
That's right.
So that is a fantastic analogy, Bobby.
Thank you. There's another thing that I saw again on TikTok. I love it so much. It just gives me so much. You get insights to so many famous people by doing it. And I was watching some TikToks on Conor McGregor, and his journey from basically living on Centrelink, the Irish version of Centrelink, to being this world-renowned kickboxer, whatever that sport is called. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah. And he was saying he learned to create his own world manifestation, whatever you want to call it. And he started just by driving. When he was going to the supermarket, he would picture the closest spot to the door being available.
Right? A car park, I know.
That was it. And so he would go, oh, sometimes I'd get there and he wouldn't be there, but sometimes I would. So, but he started with something so easy. And like, even with me, I manifest and create things, what's so far down the line. And we forget that we need to master it and make it easy for yourself. So why don't do something like that? Okay, well, I'm going to go shopping. I want to have that space available, and practice, train, and you use it. And he swears by it. He now drives a Lamborghini yacht. And he started off by creating a world in his head that he had a parking space at the supermarket that was by the door. That's crazy, because he had a vision. That vision and the action. So the end goal was the parking space, which made it very easy for him to think about it and create that in his head. And yes, sometimes it doesn't work, and yes, sometimes it did work, but he got better and better and better at it. And we see it all the time. Like, how many times did we go and buy a car and we go, oh, it's a great car, it's a yellow Hyundai, whatever. And as soon as we start driving that car, we see it everywhere. We see it everywhere.
Yes.
It was everywhere before. We just didn't notice it, but now we do. Right. We created it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, Bobby. That's our reticular activation system, and we all have it. And like you say, it works when we buy a car and then we see all these cars around, right? And it's because they were there all along. We just didn't notice them. But if you relate that to your life and the results in your life that you want, other results, and that if you dream it up and focus on it, then you'll start to see the return of those results everywhere, the opportunities everywhere. And that is how our reticular activation system works. It has to have something to hook onto. It has to have something to say, oh, this is what I'm looking for. And so once we have that clarity around what we're looking for, what we're aiming for, where we're going, what destination that we want, then our reticular activation system it's always working, but it will work on that particular thing. So that's a great example as well of how our mindset and our mind shift works. So when you consider going from your current results to living your dream life, the first thing that happens is the fear comes up, or the why we get all the reasons why we can't do it. If it's something different, if it's a big jump. And the thing is, if you're not going for something big, something much bigger, something you don't know how, then you're not dreaming big enough, because always we have the capacity. They say we're only using something like 10% of our capacity. Most humans, like 99% of us. And so if you don't feel a bit of fear or a bit of pushback, it means that it's not big enough for you, right? And then make a note of everything that comes up, and then look at them realistically and say, well, is this true? Is this really something that can stop me? Or is this something that I think I can overcome with a little bit of help? Maybe I can reach out to some people. When I first started doing online webinars, Ed said to me, do some webinars, do some online webinars. And I'm like, okay, I can do that. Ed coaches us. And when I took 3 weeks or more, and I wouldn't do it. And then I realized that these things were coming up for me. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to promote it. I don't know how to market it, right? The same as StreamYard and doing live now. In the beginning, I had to learn how to do this stuff. I had to learn what StreamYard was, get an account, open an account, work out how it works, work out how to connect it to LinkedIn and YouTube, and if you want other platforms like Facebook. And this is stuff that holds, I realized as a coach, it holds me back the same as it holds back everyone else. It's things that we just let stop us because we don't know how. And so if we shift from, I can do this, this is what I really want to do, right? I don't know how, but this is what I would love. Then we can start asking the right questions, because our life is actually dictated by the quality of the questions we ask. So when we go to bed, we can say to ourselves and write it down even, who can help me? Not how. How's not the right question. The universe will give you the how. Who can help me? Or what do I do? Or what's my next step? Those are the kinds of questions that are really, really helpful to get answers. And when you wake up in the morning, often you'll have an answer. And I loved what you talked about with the car park. I have a car parking angel, which is the same thing. I ask my angel for a car park close to the door or in that area. And my partner always, if he's driving, he'll say, oh, we'll never get a park here. And I say, well, if you think you won't, you won't.
That's right.
Because,
that's exactly right. Yes.
Henry Ford said, if you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right. And if you're putting it out there, we won't get a park, then you won't. So I said, let me get one. Let my parking angel get one for us. And, I always do. 90, like you say, 95% probably. There's probably a 5%. And sometimes I notice if I'm driving around somewhere that's really busy and there's no park, I haven't asked for it. I'm like, come on, parking angel, how about you find me a park? And then I find one straight away.
That's right. And I saw another interesting TikTok, and it was about, keep talking about TikTok, but it was about, Jim Carrey. And he said that he went into a field, he spent days in this field where he just imagined he was living his best life. He was living in these mansions, and it made him feel so great that when stuff was not so great, it still made him feel great. And, business is hard, life can be hard. And so if we can picture ourselves in these amazing cows, or whatever you want, whatever that scenario is, what's that feeling it gives you? Normally it's a feeling of pride. Like if I was to turn around to you now, Karen, and said, all your goals have been, you've achieved them all, you've done everything you want to do, it's going to make you have a sense of pride. And right now when I talk about it, I feel it. I feel like this warmth and this thing inside me, because I feel proud of all the things I've achieved. And he said by using that feeling allowed him to vibrate at these higher levels, which then gave him access to, all these other things. And so when you're thinking about that car parking space, or you're thinking about the client, or thinking about the holiday or the house, how would it make you feel if that happened when you thought about it? It gives you a sense of, oh my God, I'm going to live in this big house with this. My vision is I've got this big house and it's got a lazy river going around it. I'm lying on a lilo with a cocktail going around this. So how would that make me feel? It's not going to make me feel how I feel now. I'm going to be buzzing. And so that's what we have to do. Because also it doesn't just allow that pathway to open up to that. It makes me feel great right now to go and do the things I've got to do to go and achieve that. And it's about making yourself feel good in my head, to be able to go and do this with you, Karen, to go and do the radio show, to go and do this. This fear that leads up to, when we came on this, I remember when you went live, I do exactly the same thing when I do the lives. I go, I'm going to hit the live, and I could see you kind of like, and you press it. But you have to do that. You've got to get over that part. And by having great people around you who talk about these things like we're talking about now, allow you to go and do the things you're scared of. But you need to have the right mindset of going, okay, well, as soon as I press this, that's opening 1,000 new doors. We've opened 1,000 new doors right now, Karen, to a new world, your world and my world. And if we didn't do this, that wouldn't happen. And so I'm going to come away from this and have this great feeling of achievement and of taking myself out of the comfort zone, knowing as well that all these doors are going to open. Who knows who's going to see this right now? It could be my ideal client down the line. It could be just a great referral partner, someone that my calling is to help them through their journey of this part of their life. You don't know when it's going to be. And how cool is that to have that experience and that knowledge that they're going, hey, ready when you are, let's go.
That is so true. Like you say, if we don't do it, then we'll never know what would have happened if we had done it. And the other thing is that I want to give you another answer to the question you asked me about what to do. And it's about your feelings. So you just talk to that point. So if you notice how you feel, you're going to feel either constricted or open. You're going to feel constricted, or like you said, after the end of this, we'll feel amazing. The word, I've lost the word. If you've got a feeling of constriction, it means that you'll be thinking about negative things. Your thoughts will be negative. Expansion, that's the word I was thinking of. If you've got a feeling of expansion, your thoughts will be reflecting that. So notice when you're feeling constricted, fearful, anxious, afraid, and look at your thoughts and change them. As soon as we change our thoughts into something of possibility, something of gratitude, like you say, think about a time when you felt really, really amazing, one of the happiest times in your life. And that will help us to feel expansive. And that's when we open the doors, like you say. We open the doors to the opportunities. We open the doors to be meeting people who knows where it's going to go, and to be making a difference in this world and where we want to be, and where we want to help, and the difference we want to make.
And that's why it's important to be present in the now, because you can see that, you can notice that, you can feel that. You know, where am I going? Like right now, I could be thinking about all the travel I've got to do this week. Even though I'm having this call with you, you know, my brain is working on other things. I am concentrating in this now, so I can make the most of this. And it can work in any way. You might be writing an email, you might, you know, feel stressed out. Look out the window, go look at something that is a bird or a tree or there's so many things around here that can bring us back to the now. And that's the important thing, that we need to be living in this now, because if we're not, we're going to be fearful of the past and all the fearful of what could happen in the future. That doesn't matter. 99% of the time, it doesn't happen the way you think it's going to happen. Just the only thing you can do is control the next minute, the next few seconds. And I think that's if you can learn to live life in the moment, then you're really truly living life. It's difficult. People think to me, oh my God, you're great how you can do that. Don't get me wrong, there's still days and times where I'm thinking about what's going to happen here and thinking about, you know, what's going to happen here. It's a real skill to have, and depending on, you know, your past and things like that can be really difficult. But before we wrap up, what is one thing that anyone can do right now? You know, I'd like to get tips from the experts, and you're so good at what you do. So if somebody here is right now and they are thinking the worst is going to happen, what would you suggest they could do to kind of change that mindset?
Well, so first of all, thinking the worst is going to happen when it hasn't happened is really a waste of energy, because that's what we do, is we tend to fear the worst. What if? So I was in that situation some years ago, and I won't tell the full story, but what I did was I asked a question. I asked a question that was so completely way out. Well, first of all, I asked for another question. I asked, you know, from the universe, what question can I ask that's going to be empowering for the situation and change my situation that I'm in? And then the next morning I came up with a question, and it was, how can I create right? And so it's about the questions we ask. Instead of focusing on the worst happening, change our questions to something that we want, or something that's going to be an answer or helpful towards the worst not happening. And thinking up a question that's going to be empowering is really critical for us to change our mindset. So change your question. The questions we ask are super, super important, and change it to something that's going to give you what you want, or give you an empowering feeling when that happens.
Beautiful.
Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. And I hope it makes sense to people who are watching and listening, because we have the power to do whatever we want. You know, you can do whatever you want. People go, oh, yeah, you know, if I want to be an astronaut, I've got to go and train to do it. Well, yeah. There's still action. You've got to take action. Like, nothing is just going to appear. The Ferrari is just not going to appear on your driveway because you manifested it. You've got to go and take that journey and take control And, that can be a challenge for some people. Some people have such a bad, upbringing or bad life that they're always forced to go to the negative. But every little time that you fight against that and bring in something positive, it's going to help you. And you've got to help grow that positive plant from your negative plants that are up here. They're so high that you've got to, it takes time. And that's why you need to have consistency. And that's why, someone like Karen can help you, because she'll help you build that consistency, accountability around all of that. And that's what we need. And that's why I network so much, because I know that I've got to go out there and be this person that I want to be in the future, that I feel I am now. But I have to surround myself by the people who are going to get that. If I surround myself with people who are negative, then all that's going to do is approach onto me, and I'm going to be negative. So I try and surround myself by the people who want to go on the same journey as me. And that helps.
That's fantastic, Bobby. So how can people get in touch with you, and why would they get in touch with you, Bobby? Give us a quick rundown of what things that you can help people with.
Yeah, so you can reach me on LinkedIn. Just search for Bobby Semple. I'm sure if you did Bobby Semple on Google, I'd come up. I do so much content around the place that you'll find me. You can reach me at Simplified Recruitment Solutions. I can help you with multiple things. Recruitment, if you're looking for staff, I can help you do that side. We're a low-fee recruitment company. If you want to network, I also run a networking event as well, so you can come along. Or if you just wanted to have a one-to-one with me, I can help you out with some connections, or just to come on a call, have a chat, and end up leaving positive. I feel like a lot of people who have one-to-ones with me end up empowered, and I am very giving with my energy. I like to give. I like to make a difference in people's life, and sometimes I do that too much. Sometimes I give out all my energy, and I have to go and have a really good weekend of just away from everything. But I want to do that. I feel like we can make such a difference in people's lives by being open with not only what we do, but also our networks and things like that. So if you're looking to connect, then please do, and let's have a chat about it.
Yeah, that's fantastic, Bobby. So on that note, lovely to see you, Peter and Wasim, everyone else who comes onto this on the replay. Amazing talk with Bobby today. You've got such a wonderful mindset, Bobby, and I know that you keep working on it all the time, because that's what we do. So thank you so much again for joining us. Look out for our next session in 2 weeks' time, and have a wonderful week, everybody. Thanks, Bobby, and we'll say goodbye now.
See ya.